was that the test review handout, for some reason, didn't come through very well. I get those straight from the exam professor, and their formatting is a little off. I've tried to copy that over into a Word document or switch it over to PDF, and for some reason it's not allowing me to do that from the website right now. So I did kind of copy and paste the questions. They do give me a cool little feature, which is a stats of how everybody did on the test, and so you can see correct answers marked here and how everybody sort of responded. The majority of you got the right answers. It was almost overwhelming. Pharmaceutical products and dosages deemed best and most economical is, of course, formulary. Within Dr. First, you have to indicate allergies or no known allergies before you can e-prescribe. Everybody seemed to get those really well. Couple wrong answers on the next ones. Can you add frequently used prescriptions and dosage to a favorites? Yes, you can. Can you store a patient's previously used pharmacy? Yes, you can. And that does make it really handy to be able to quickly find previous prescriptions or pharmacies so you don't have to look them up every time. The scorecard in Dr. First is used to show the history of prescriptions given in a time frame. A couple of you marked differently. Licensed professional must electronically sign the prescription to send it to the pharmacy. That is true. And there is a vetting process that the customer has to go through in order to make sure that the person signing is who they say they are. Dr. First will give you drug interaction warning. That is true. Orders listed to process the following is all of the above. So I love the orders list. We get a lot of positive feedback from customers on that as a way to follow up and be able to assign things. Main areas where you can manage orders are going to be orders list in the encounter. We kind of went through that. Easiest way to access the orders list is from the list menu. And how many ways are there to enter a lab result? 3. Types of orders, 7. And then I think that when importing lab results, this question was the one we had the biggest split on, obviously. The HL7 file must contain results for only a single order. Do you want to talk about that for just a second, Jared, about the HL7 file? I wonder if you can hear me. We might have to come back to that. Or if you feel like you marked any of these questions wrong and you want more clarification, we can go over that with you as well. Linking an encounter to an order, yes, you can do that. Lab and imaging results come to the office via fax. Okay, so you can assign an order to a staff member to follow up. Yes, you can. If there are multiple results for an order, you can assign an order ID to one of them. That is true. Okay, so I'll be providing the slides again as well so that you can have the answers to the test if you're interested in that. Most of you have taken that and did very well, passed most of you on the first time. So I was really proud of that. There are 2 parts to this section that we're going over. That is decision support and patient search. I am going to go over how to do a live patient search, a new patient search, and then Jared is going to cover decision support. So if you'll bear with me here a second, I'm going to exit out here. And we are going to go into our TotalMD. And we are going to create a new patient search. So we're going to come up here to our list. And we're going to come down here to patient search and reminders. And what we're going to do is create a new search. So I'm going to click on new search. And what it does is open the patient reporter window. We can give it a search name. And I am going to call this all males over the age of 21. Let's say that I want to create a search where I can locate all the patients in the practice over the age of 21. Most of the time, you're going to create a patient search that's a little more detailed than that. Maybe you want to say, and also has high blood pressure or other criteria But to keep it simple for the sake of demoing, and we're just going to look for the over the age of 21. And so down below here we have the grid where we're going to list our criteria. And so the first thing I'm going to do is choose the field. So we're going to select patient, and we're also going to search by gender. So I just click on those two things, and then we're going to come over here to operator, and we can click the drop down, and it gives you the list here. We're going to click equal to, and then the value, which is male. First, we want to locate all the males in the practice. And then we're going to come down here and add another criteria. So it gives me another line, and it automatically enters in the and. Under the field, we're going to choose patient and birth date this time because we want to locate those males over the age of 21. And this is a little bit tricky. When I click the drop down, we want to find equal or greater to 21 years old. And so it seems like the logical would be to select this one, which is what I did the first time until Jared corrected me and explained that once we enter in the criteria in the value, which would be 21, and rather than enter the date, I can say years ago with capital Y and capital A, and those values are in the slides that we gave last week. So there's a little table that will kind of give you an explanation, and so as you're going through and entering the criteria, if you need extra cheats for that, so to speak, you can use the table off of the slides that you got from last week. The reason that the arrow is facing this way is because you kind of read it backwards. We want the over 21 years to be equal or greater to, and so the open end of the sign needs to be facing the number of years and not the patient. Did I explain? I think I got that right. Jared will be on here. Okay, so once we enter that, we can click Show Results. And what it's going to do is give me a list down below here of all the patients in the system that meet these criteria. And right here at the top, you can see that it's also going to give a search or a source. If I scroll to the right here, you can see that it will list email, mobile, because I have them all marked. If I just want to handle those patients that prefer to be contacted by phone first, I can deselect these items, and it will narrow my list. We also have a pretty cool feature here that if I click the column header, it will reorder these high to low or alphabetical order so that I can go through. And then when you say click mark notification, it will update the rule as that having been done. It doesn't actually show up anywhere. It's not going to make a note or a clinical note for you, but it will mark so that when you do your reporting, it shows that you did notify patients. So that is the basics of the patient search. You can enter in multiple criteria, and that is going to be using the group beginning and group ending. It is very similar, as Jared mentioned last time, to decision support. And so having done patient search, we're going to kind of turn it over to him, and the same concepts that he'll apply to doing using a group and decision support would also apply here. Jared, are you with us? I wonder if he's muted. Yes, he is. Attendee is. Okay. Do we have any questions about that so far? Let me just make sure.
Julie?
Yes, Alicia?
I think Jared's on mute right now. If you can unmute him, he's not able to unmute himself.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to do that, and it says attendee is self-muted and can't be unmuted by the organizer. Let me see if I can. I've clicked him off and on, and he can't. I can't do it for him.
Okay.
So we can just have him come over if he wants to.
Muted.
Christina was asking the question, can the report be saved to use the future date or just export or print the data? Yes, it can. And so over here, you can have saved searches.
Muted.
And then, of course, you can edit these as time goes on.
Unmuted.
One, a patient search that you've already created, and you've decided that you want to add some more criteria to that to narrow and maybe save it as something new, you can absolutely do that. Let's see if we have any other questions while we get Jared.
Hey, Julie, can you hear me?
Yep. Oh, there you are. Yay. Okay, so
the telephone thing was broken.
Oh, no. Okay. So let me go ahead and switch over. Are you good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go ahead and make you the presenter. Yes. Perfect.
All right. Get my rule up here so I can see it. So I'm going to be building a decision support rule off of this one that we talked about last time, the U.S. Preventive Service Task Force rule for aspirin. The main thing I'm going to be doing is these two green ones. So I'll have all men ages 45 to 79 and all women ages 55 to 79. And then for the recommendation, instead of a procedure or a diagnosis, right over here they have supporting documents. And so this particular one is a report about the benefits of aspirin for primary prevention of cardiovascular events. So this particular URL is going to be my recommendation. So it'll be a patient ed recommendation. So a lot of the things you need are already provided for you with the U.S. Preventive Service Task Force. So this is the rule. I'm going to build this one for us kind of as we go through it. If you have questions, definitely type them in. I see Christina's got one real quick.
I think I may have just answered that. She was,
okay.
Let me just make sure. Yeah, she was asking about for the patient search if we could save it or if we could export it or print.
Gotcha. So yeah, if there's any questions while I'm building the rule, just go ahead and type them in, and I'll stop what I'm doing and what we can do. All right, so we'll go to decision support. I'll create a new rule. I'm going to call this one aspirin for prevention. There we go. I'm going to call my reference source as the US. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to cheat. I'm just going to put the URL in here as my reference source. There. And this was done by me. This is revision 1, and it's today's date. And this is going to be for all level 1 users. 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s won't do it. So this thing right here says that only a level 1 user is going to trigger it. So if the nurse creates the encounter and she's level 2, she won't see the recommendation. But when the doctor comes in and edits the encounter, the recommendation will fire and this recommendation will show up. So that's all that's doing. I'm going to, since we've got talking recommendation, I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. So it's a URL, and I'm going to copy the URL off of this one here. Just drop that in right there. So here's my recommendation ready to go, and we can build the rule. So for this rule, it had two groupings. So I'm going to have to do, I have to start off with a bracket to say that this is the first part of it. And I'm going to say all patients that are male and their birth dates is 45 years ago. Actually, I'm going to need to do another bracket here. Go. Come on. There we go. Actually, no, I won't need to. And their birth date is less than or equal to 79 years ago.
So it looks like Scott is asking about what is the funding source, which
all right, so funding
I was
source
asking.
is like this. If an insurance company says, all right, if you provide these types of services to these types of patients, then we're going to pay you a little bit more. So that's one instance of where you would have a funding source. So the insurance company has come to the doctor and said, hey, we're trying to force some patient care here, and we're going to pay you X% more when you provide this type of service to a patient with this type of condition. So you can then put into your funding source that basically your insurance company is saying that they're the ones who are paying us to do this, just so you have a reference of the reasoning why you're doing it. It's a difference from reference of the rules because you're saying that we're actually getting paid to do this one. Also, if there's a study going on, or if you're using like a U.S. Preventive Service Task Force, but that particular rule is brought by another source that they're saying, this is who is recommending it, you can put that in there saying that this isn't just some arbitrary rule, that it's actually being paid for by a specific person. It could be by a pharmaceutical company, it could be by an insurance company, it could be by anything, and it's just to provide some background of where this is coming from. So there's a criteria source, that's your reference source, but there's also kind of the funding sources saying not only is this their criteria, but there's money behind this, and this is who it's coming from. It's just to kind of cover your bases to say this is where it's from. That's all it's about. So this first one right here, I created this little group. So it's going to be all males that are over 45 and under 79. And then my next one, I'm going to create another group here. I'll do another bracket. And I'll say this one is going to be all patients whose gender is female. And their ages are going to be 55 to 79. Oops, I typed wrong. Years ago, that criteria, birth date is greater than or equal to 79 ago. Like we were saying before, it looks backwards, and I'm still in debate about changing it, but it's pretty much read this way. So 79 years ago is less than or equal to their birth date. 55 years ago. It's the opposite direction, and so I may switch that out. If we do, I'll send an alert out so you guys know that the rules are going to change. But that's the way that this works. So this would be all the patients, male in this date range, all the females in this date range, they're going to get this recommendation. So we can, I'm going to save this rule real quick. And let's come over here. See, here's our aspirin prevention one. And let's go ahead and test it and see if we find any patients in our system. And apparently there are nobody in my system that hits those criteria. Oh, I know why. Ha, I'm silly. Because right here I left this as an and. No one can be both a female and a male. This right here is supposed to be an or. Silly me.
That was a good example, though.
Yep.
I was just wondering about that myself.
So there we go. Let's come and test this rule now. Test rule. There we go. So Isabella Jones, James Smith. So let's go ahead and we'll use Isabella Jones right here. We'll test that one out, and we'll see if our recommendation shows up. So we'll do last name is Jones. Of course, I'm using my database with over 40,000 patients in it, so there's a little lag. And we'll do a new encounter. And if we come to the Notes and Review tab, we're going to see a suggestion. So my demographics one also fired off, but right here is my aspirin for prevention. The name of the decision support rule shows up. If I come over here, we can see if I had put an intervention action in, it would have had the text right here for us. And if we wanted to, we can just right-click and view the document. That'll open up the website to that URL for us. So we'll have this show to the patient. If we provide it to the patient, what's going to happen is over here in their chart preview, they're going to have the URL right in there. So when you give this to the patient, when you print it out, send it to them, they'll have that URL provided to them right there, so they can go back and look at it themselves.
That's pretty cool.
And if you right-click and do View Source here, this is going to provide you with that information. So here's our reference source, funding source, who built it, and everything. So if you're saying, why did this rule fire? Who created this silly rule? You can right-click and view the documentation, and it'll give you all the information right here of where that rule came from.
That's pretty cool.
All right. Any questions with the decision support stuff? It's sometimes it can get a little tricky because you have to think kind of like how you would build a SQL statement. But it's pretty nice because you can create a whole bunch of recommendations, especially if there's certain procedures that you perform all the time. Every patient who has hypertension, I'm going to do this procedure. Or every patient with these types of conditions, I tend to want to give them this kind of documentation. You can create a few rules like that, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. As soon as the patient's in there, these will automatically fire, and you're like, oh yeah, I need to give them this, or oh yeah, I need to provide this procedure. It's a nice little quick way to handle those situations.
If it's okay, I'm going to ask a question, Jared. I noticed on the intervention action there, can we go in and edit the rule and just make some sort of intervention so that I can see how that looks when it pops up?
Absolutely. That looks like a little glitch that it saved it twice there. All right, so we're going to set this as an intervention, and we're going to say using aspirin can help prevent There you go. How did they word it? Cardiovascular events. That's the word I was looking for, events. There you go. So we'll save this rule. And let's fire it off again. So right here we'll see this.
Awesome.
Using aspirin can help prevent cardiovascular events.
That's pretty cool. So checking that box allows you to be able to populate the notes down below.
Correct.
Pretty cool. Okay. We're not getting a lot of questions, it looks like, on this. Like you said, it's pretty straightforward. I'll give it just a couple minutes, but is there anything anybody else would like to see in a live demo? So when you're creating that group of criteria, I'm going to ask another question. I feel like I have questions about this today since we were talking about it. In this instance where you have the open and close, the group begin and the group end, when I was looking at this earlier, you're making your list of criteria as you go. So it seemed to me that all of those criteria would be automatically included when you're looking for patients who fit this rule. So when you put the open and the close, parentheses and the begin and the end, what are you telling this rule exactly?
So what this is saying, the main key thing here is this or. That's why these brackets are needed. So we're saying the patient needs to be male, needs to be between 45 and 79. So all of these criteria are tied together with this and clause, saying that this and this and this have to be true.
Right.
Then you can come in with these ors. So now the or, you've got a whole new grouping that you can deal with. So
I gotcha.
That bracket allows you to say that these three pieces are together, and then the next three pieces are together. But it doesn't let them get mixed up. If we didn't have the brackets, it would be all patients that are male and 45, or between 45 and 79, or female, and this, and you would get this weird reaction in there where it'd be each 79 or female, and so it kind of throws that. The brackets allow you to just sort of like bundle them into little groupings in there so that they don't interact with each other. It keeps the first three separate from the second three.
Got it. Okay. No more questions, it looks like, being asked. And so is there anything you want to wrap up with, Jared?
No, I mean, the decision supports, they can be a little confusing, like I said, with SQL, but once you've done a few, it makes sense. If you have any troubles with the homework, we have received a few, not a ton, but a few. Give me a shout out. I can help you figure out how to do these rules. As you saw here, this one looked a little bit complicated from the website, but really it's not that bad when you're building some of these rules. I would recommend just going out, randomly picking one of these rules out here and trying it out. They're a little more complex than just saying, all right, all people that are male. I mean, that's a pretty straightforward rule, but if you come out here and try one of these other ones, you can kind of challenge yourself just a little bit. And the nice thing about these is they'll usually have some evidence, some documents you can use as reference sources for the patients. So it's a good place to go to kind of play around with this. Definitely give it a try and give me a call if you have any troubles with it.
Hey, Jared, can I suggest that maybe we do a dental one just for any of those people focusing on dental EHR, just an example of how that might look, and maybe tie it to a code?
Well, my medical one doesn't have any dental codes. The only dental ones in here is going to be, let me see, there's the periodontal disease. Let's actually look over here. Dental. Where is it? There's a filter. Huh. They don't have their dental filter.
It's nice to know that they do have filters on this page, though.
Yeah, the filters help out, but for some odd reason I'm not seeing the dental filter anymore. I thought they used to have one here. But that's okay. Let's take a look. There was that dental one, and dental caries in children from birth through age 5.
That's a good one.
Perfect.
So here you go. This one would actually be quite simple. All you would have to do is you're going to say you want all children that are from birth till age 5. So everyone who's less than age 6. You're going to want to recommend a dental caries are performed or whatever. I'm honestly, dental not my forte, so you guys would have to speak better on this than me.
Right. So they want to prescribe an oral fluoride supplement so that they get fluoride. Lots of kids don't have, or lots of areas don't have fluoride naturally in the water, or they don't add fluoride to the water, and so dentists will prescribe a supplement for children while they're still developing their permanent teeth.
All right. So what I would say here is just all patients that are whose birth date is going to be like that. So that's all we would have to do for the criteria, because it's just everyone under the age of 6. And then I would create a new recommendation in here, and it would be a procedure to be performed, and I don't have that procedure in the system for the fluoride.
Right.
So but that's what I would do, is I'd select the procedure. If this was it right here, which it's not, I would just select that, save it, and then that one would get in there, and then that's all you would have to do. So that's a very simple dental one. There aren't a lot of dental recommendations out here on the U.S. Preventive Service Task Force, but there are other sources as well. This isn't the only one out there that has potential rules. But that's the only one here. There's an inactive one that they don't do anymore, the periodontal disease counseling. They actually removed the criteria, so I can't even build it.
Right. Diane was asking if we have a list of all the values that can be used. And we did.
I think you put that into onto the slide, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Diane, we did in the previous session. I did include slides that have a table that you can use that kind of give a description of what each of the values represent and how they're used. So I'll make sure that you have a copy of that. Is that what you were asking?
Yes, because I did not see that then.
Okay, I can make a copy of the specific slides or at least tell you what the numbers are so you can go to and look and make sure that that came through for you. If not, I'm happy to send it again.
Okay, thanks.
The one thing to remember is whenever you're building one of these guys, whether you're picking a patient's gender, their last name, if you're picking a lab result and you're looking at the actual test type, whenever you've done one of these things, as soon as you come over into the value field, if you start typing, it's going to give you a list of everything that's in the database in that field. So if you're not quite sure how to spell hematocrit, you can just start typing hematocrit and it's going to show up right here and you've got them. When it comes to the dates, that's the only one with any special characters. When you start typing in the dates, of course it's going to try to put in an actual value of a date. But we've added in that secondary option for you. So if I started typing in 6, all you're going to see is all the dates that have a 6 in it. But now you can bypass that and either do years ago, you can do months ago, you can do weeks ago, and you can do days ago. So any one of those options work. And that'll allow you to have that floating date, because you don't want to say everyone who was born before 2000. So that way you'll have everyone who's over 15, because next year, now it's going to be a different range, and you have to go back and change your rule to everyone before 2001. So if you just do this years ago, then it's going to float with the dates, and you'll always have an accurate grouping. But yeah, for the most part, it's going to prompt you. So when you come in here, you just start typing, and it'll give you the options that are in the database. So, okay, platelet.
And those shortcuts that are like the years ago, days ago, months ago, that's in the table that Diane was just asking about. So it should be in the slides when we started to discuss decision support at the last session. So go ahead and check your slides and make sure that it came through okay. If not, I'm happy to get with you and make sure you have that. Scott was also made a really good comment. He wanted to know about import or exporting the rules for those doctors who have different data sets, rather than have to retype it in every single time maybe.
Currently, we don't have it plugged in. It's not hard to do. I probably will be adding it eventually. It just hasn't been there hasn't been time to build it. But yeah, it'll be coming along someday.
Yeah.
As for the capitalization, the case sensitive on Karen's one, honestly, I'm not quite sure. We can give it a quick test run and see. Let's come over here. We'll edit our aspirin rule. And let's change this one to just years ago. Oops, 79 years ago. We'll come up here. 55 years ago. Then we'll be able to see if Isabella Jones shows up in our list, because we know she met in there before. So let's come back. We'll test our rule. Nope, does not appear to be case sensitive. So there's Isabella Jones right there, still showing up even though we've lowercased it. So, good question, Karen. If you do build a set of rules, though, to further on to Scott's answer, and you do want to bounce them from one to another one, there are only a few tables you would need to copy from one database to another. It's very simple until we have an import-export ability. It's isolated in its own little thing, so it won't affect anything to copy that from one spot to another. Any other questions?
You may have gone over this already, but I might have not heard it. The user levels at the top, Did everyone get to hear what that is for?
If not, it's just stating which users will be able to see this rule. If I log back into this system right here with my level 2 user, which I believe is just called 2, let's go find out. 2, perfect. So if I log back in again with 2, if I open up Isabella Jones again, there we go, new encounter. Then I'm not going to have that aspirin recommendation at all. Because I'm a level 2 user, I'm not allowed to see those recommendations.
Okay, great, thank you.
Perfect.
Cool. All right. It doesn't look like there are any other questions coming through.
Okay. Well, we're about 15 minutes before the hour. Feel free to use the time to work on the homework. Jared, if you want to pass presenter back to me, I can post the homework again up on the board.
All righty.
And that way they can see it. I'll be around for the next 15 minutes if you think of questions. And let's see, get out this. Perfect. And as always, this is a little bit shorter section, so most of you have done really, really well on it, and I will be contacting those of you who are missing assignments just to kind of check in. I want to see where you're at. I know things get busy and things get overlooked, so let me help you with that if I need to. And I know that a few of you have sent me emails requesting links to the webinars and re-requesting materials. I'm happy to send those. I am just letting you know that I did get those. If I haven't responded to you yesterday or today yet, I will be getting those out as well. So we appreciate all of you for your hard work. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to stay on the session here until the time is up in case you think of questions. But otherwise, finish up your homework, and we will reconvene again next Thursday at our regular scheduled time. Thank you.
Hey, Julie, Scott asked if there's a central place to find all the recordings or not.
The recordings are on a YouTube channel, and they're marked private. If you want me to, if you have trouble accessing that, please contact me, and we'll see if we can get you able to view the private. We did mark it private because you guys have, signed up for this presentation. We don't want to give it away to just everybody. But if you want to, I can also send you a link where you can click on it and get in as well. So if you do have problems, Scott, just get in touch with me. I think you may have already sent me an email, and I'll get that out to you today. Okay. All right. Okay.